yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore. Hell yes, hell yes, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15. Hell yes, your AK-47. Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15.
Oh, hell no!
Hell yes, we're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
Hate to butt in on you, brother, but your microphone's not on.
Would you look at that? All right, let's try that again. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Free For All Friday on the Prepared Mind channel. It has been a tumultuous week full of errors, missteps, mistakes, mishaps, and, well, probably also misinformation. And by the way, thank you, Mr. Uman. That was very polite of you to step in and make sure I quit stepping on my own nutsack. All righty. What are we going to do? Where are we going to go? Folks, we have a lot of information to talk about. But this being Friday Free-for-All, guess what? It means you get to join in live, not at the end of the show after the monologue, but every step of the way through. So I'm going to go, I want to be first. I want to be number one, numero uno here. I want to do that. And I'm going to start out with this. Well, I don't know if it's a distraction, but it seems to be that the Biden administration, the Democrat Party, Washington, D.C., the bureaucracy, and the powers that be do not want to give up on taking your guns. So this is how incompetent they are. Now, remember, on the one hand, they're very stupid. They are. They're very, very stupid. On the other hand, maybe it's just their sheer tenacity that has made them so Dr. Evilish in their ability to try and destroy everything. I'm going to have to redo my theory on the powerful and wealthy out there. I don't know. I got a few working hypotheses, as you guys know. Anyway, so they want to get rid of guns. So Joe Biden wants to have a gun control. Let's get rid of the Second Amendment. Super secret squirrel organization running from the White House, as if he already didn't have one. But this is what he went and did. Now, early in the day, they had the picture that they put with the stories about this upcoming announcement was pictures of David Hogg. And I thought, oh, David Hogg is going to be in the White House now? The guy who can hit at a whopping 25 feet a pie plate with his AR-15. That's how powerful that guy is. Unbelievable. So instead they come out and announce that the new czar of Biden's war on Second Amendment, it's growing, folks. Guess who his czar is? It is none other than the fabled, brilliant-minded Camel Toes Harris. She is going to be the gun czar. In other words, well, it's a war on the Second Amendment. She should be the anti-gun czar. So as soon as I heard that, I thought, good God, he couldn't have made a better move. What a fucking idiot. He takes the woman who did absolutely 0%. 0%. And they put her in charge, 0% on the border, and put her in charge of the gun war. What does that tell us? Absolutely nothing is going to be done. I mean, Kamala Harris in charge of the border. She didn't go there for what, over 2.5 years? She's a complete knucklehead and knows nothing. I have zero worries about Kamala Harris. The only thing this provides her is the opportunity to use it as a campaign platform. This is one of the actual old school Democrat campaign platforms that the Democrats used to stand on was anti-gun. Get rid of the Second Amendment. Well, now, of course, their campaign platform is, pro-abortion, open borders, destroying the economy, crushing the military, transgender, sexualizing children, ruining education, and, of course, World War III, not to mention using everything up and down the pipe to promote their completely asinine worldview and desire for world domination and the destruction of the Constitution and our rights. I think I got that pretty much crammed in there. With Kamala Harris at the lead, it truly is an example of how desperate they are to try and find somebody who could be an appealing, charismatic figure. But I mean, she's demonstrated, folks. She's got nothing from here to here to help her win anything. Puppets, folks. Puppets are nothing more than wooden dolls with sawdust for brains. Doesn't that describe Biden and Harris? Moreover, they're easier to pull their strings and manipulate them. And the puppeteers like that. The puppeteers like that a lot. All right, Mr. Ooman. We got Ooman in the house. Let's do one from the crowd, one from the inner circle. Let's start mixing it up. And here it is. It is name redacted. He says her pending planned failure will further help Big Mike Obama's presidential run. This is an interesting look at this name. Now, understand, folks, right now we're discussing this live. This is fresh, hot off the press news. So tomorrow, the points and discussion we have here, they're going to be covering tomorrow on other channels. And it won't be fresh. It'll be stale. Well, it'll be normal for everyone else. Here we are. Democrat Party, desperate for somebody that the people like. As of late, Joe Biden, who is the most destructive SHTF president ever to sit on the throne and crap his pants. I mean, Obama would have been more destructive, but he had to set things in motion. And he did. But Biden is now executing the destruction. So, and he's not loved. His health sucks. He's a complete bumbling idiot. I think he walked into a flag, insulted a communist leader of Brazil. That's the world we're in, folks. That's the world we're in. And so we had kind of shot out there for the world to think about. Michelle Obama being parachuted in to rescue the Democrat Party. So why not we have two fake black women that the Democrats want to run as president. Kamala Harris, I guess, is not really black. She's Jamaican, and her family owned slaves way, way back. And I'm pretty sure she's a woman because Willie Brown was doing something with her that was pretty nasty, but you never know. And then there's Big Mike. Big Mike Michelle Obama, who has a bulge that embarrasses me. And I'm no stranger to having a bulge. I tell you what, they're both fake black women. One is a fake black, the other is a fake woman, according to many conspiracy theorists. Good thing this is a satirical channel, eh? I tell you. So that's our politics. They could bring in Kamala Harris and get everyone used to that idea. Don't worry. And then she can fail, because she will fail, folks, miserably at one point, if she even gets started. And then why not just drop in Michelle Obama last second, right? See, this is the idea. You run with Kamala there, and then about, 2-3 months before the election, you drop, do a stealth drop of Michelle in there so that they can't vet her, it, he fully. They can't check it, her, he, fully's record, birth certificate, college degree, places of employment. You know what? I have a funny feeling, if I remember correctly, that this frutastic person had their law license suspended or yanked. Well, that's who we want for president, huh? I tell you, folks, we've got one hell of a shit show going. Thank you, Mr. Uman. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, speaking of these idiots in the Democrat Party and shit hitting the fan, they cannot accept responsibility for anything. Joe Biden is blaming Trump. He's blaming the Republicans for the never-ending line of illegal aliens in Texas. Yes, it's Trump's fault yet again. The man hasn't been anywhere near the paddles of power in the White House. Almost 3 years now. And they're still blaming Trump. Trump did not have an open border policy. He had a closed border policy. He didn't have a tear down the wall. He had a build the wall policy. And there wasn't a never-ending line of illegal aliens making it into the country anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 and maybe even 750,000 people per month, because it's increasing now. They're bringing in illegals by the fucking train load and dumping them on our border, literally dumping them here. It's human debris, unfortunately. They're not refugees from a war, folks. They're coming from another country where they didn't have, and they're coming to this country so that they can take from us. And here they are. They know they're not wanted. They know they're not liked. They even know that they're hated, but they don't give a fuck. They're here to take from you and destroy our nation. And Joe Biden, the president of the United States, is blaming Trump, and he is blaming the Republicans in Congress. That is the shitstorm we're facing. Good God. Okay, well, that's I wanted to talk about that one. What is it that you want to talk about? There's comments, a comment section. Get your comments in there. Uman and Jolene will scoop them up, get them lined up. You've got a question, a comment, a thought. You have an opinion, you have a prediction, and let's discuss it. We've got Village Idiot stepping in, always making me laugh with that meme. He says, early thoughts. Notice how the unicornians are running low on bodies to throw at the runners. When you look at our southern border, think about it as Biden stocking up. Biden is stocking up on a lot of things. It's almost like they're stocking up on drugs, like they're stocking up on voters, like they're stocking up on children, like they're stocking up on MS-13. They're stocking up on potential terrorists. And the cost of all this is to take from all of us, or put on our tab, if you will, the expense of it all. These people will never work, produce, and pay taxes. They'll never help this country, ever. Ever. You see, when the Irish, the Italians, the Germans, the Swedes, when they came over in droves, in waves, they came here for opportunity to work. Yes, some scumbags made it too, and there were problems. But you didn't get on a boat in the 1800s and the early 1900s for free. Nope. You had to pay for passage. You had to put an investment in it, and you were hoping you would get something out of it. And they knew at that time in the world, there was no welfare. It was hard work was the only way you were going to get ahead. Or if you were a criminal, of course, and you had some criminal contacts. But it is like nothing we're facing today. This is absolutely awful what is happening. Unbelievable. Thank you, Village Idiot, for that topic very much. Now I want to cover another very important topic that popped up today. There was that guy. The man, if you want to call him a man, he was He was a young career criminal is what he was. A very young career criminal who in Kenosha, Wisconsin, decided he was going to run down Kyle Rittenhouse. He was going to run him down. Well, his name was Gage Grosskreutz, but he changed his name. His new legal name is Paul Prediger. He was in Milwaukee in a crosswalk, and someone ran his ass over. And I will laugh because this is just a staggering, stunning, stellar example of karma. Grosskreutz, formerly Gage Grosskreutz, now Paul Prediger, is the guy that was trying to kill Kyle Rittenhouse, pulled a gun on him before Kyle decided to pull his trigger and fire, blew his bicep off his arm. Right, this is that same guy. Kyle killed the other two. This guy's lucky to be alive. Or is he lucky? Yeah, he is a career criminal. I believe a sexual predator of some sort. Additionally, right, he should have been charged with attempted murder, right, terrorism, harassment, and a number of other things. I have no idea why this fucking guy isn't in jail. Anyways, it just made me laugh when I heard that this guy was trying to walk across the street and he got run over by a car, right? I don't know if this is karma or Carmageddon, but the guy has bad luck. I don't want him dead. I want him to live and continue to have this kind of luck in his life. You know, he already started out as just a complete scumbag. I'm sure he's involved in all manner of illicit activity. And then he gets shot by Kyle Rittenhouse, doesn't get any money out of that. And now he's been run over by a car. He's got a lacerated kidney. And he's complaining that he's being doxxed because people figured out that it's him. Folks, we need to keep talking, you and I, all of us, very loudly about all of these people and what they're trying to do to our country. It's what they're trying to do to our country. All right, Mr. Uman. Let's have some more from the crowd. Let's have some more from the audience, some more from the inner circle. And it is Uman back. And he's got good news coming from Chicago. You're going to love this. Since all the stores in Chicago are closing due to rampant crime, this is Mayor BJ, by the way. Mayor BJ is a Marxist socialist, which is another way of saying a communist. He is now the mayor. Remember Mayor Beetlejuice? The woman that is so ugly that a mere glance could turn a man to stone or break a mirror. She lost to Mayor BJ in the election, which of course was Donald Trump's fault when she lost. So now Chicago, because commercial stores are closing down due to rampant crime, violence, theft, the idea is that the city of Chicago is now going to open its own stores. This is a very screwy idea, folks. It failed. It failed in communist Russia. It's failed every time it's tried. Government-run stores. What does that mean? There's going to be a limited selection of product, a limited amount of product, and very high prices. What could possibly go wrong? Now, I want to ask one question on this story, though, Uman. If you're a regular retail outlet, whether you're a Ross or a Marshall's or a Kohl's or a Target, all of which I think none of us should shop at, or Walmart or any other store, an Albertsons, a Piggly Wiggly, a Kroger's, a Safeway, right? Food stores. If you go into one of those and you load up your shopping cart with items and you bypass the register and go right out the door, no one will stop you. You will not be arrested. What happens when this occurs in a government store? If you go into a government building that has government-owned items and you try and steal them, are they now going to enforce the law? Ooh, man, thumbs up or thumbs down? He says 2 thumbs up. You'll be arrested if you go into a Chicago city store and start stealing city property. So now let's look at this. Let us look at this from the perspective of, does government want communist-style stores in America? They're doing everything they can to destroy the economy, the currency, and commerce in general, putting corporations and people out of work and businesses out. Businesses out, jobs are lost. It almost seems like it's being done so the government can have government stores. Now, why would government want government stores? Let's carry this thought out. So government wants to be in control of the retail business. So first you have to do things that cause businesses to leave. Okay, allow people to steal like mad. Now, is this a necessarily diabolical plan? Well, fuck yeah, it's diabolical. Or is it just an accidental consequence of stupidity on the part of Democrats? Well, they're doing it on purpose. Is this just a side benefit that they get to take this? Now, let's go into the future. Let's look 10 years into the future. All the big cities have government stores, right? The San Francisco store, the Portland store, the Chicago stores, the New York stores, which includes all the boroughs and stuff, right? The Dallas stores, every big city has stores. Even some smaller cities and some counties, they end up with stores owned by the government. And you're not allowed to steal from them, by the way. So they stay in business. Food becomes very expensive. But what else is there that we could take with that story and combine it with? Once again, how does this work? If you're a thinking person, you just might see this. Down the road, can you see the government saying, you're not allowed in this store? This is a government store. If you're going to come in this store, you're going to wear a mask. If you come in this store, you have to be juicinated. If you're going to come in this store, you have to be a registered Democrat, right? It's their store, their rules, in other words. If you want to shop in this store, you have to take central bank digital currency. If you want central bank digital currency, you have to forfeit any other currency you have. You'll own nothing and you'll like it. Welcome to the government-run world, folks. What did government used to do? They used to be charged with coining money, stamping gold and silver coins. Post office, and let's see, controlling the borders and dealing with international affairs, setting export and import taxes. That was what the federal government was designed to do. Oh, yeah, and keep the peace between the states, right? Make sure that interstate activity was equitable, fair, even, just. That was it. Now they're in your house, up your ass. They want to make sure that you have mattress tags on your mattresses, that you have low-flow showers and toilets. They want to make sure you don't have too many carbon-producing appliances. They want to make sure your appliances are smart so that they can snitch on you and they can listen to you. They want the IRS, the FBI, the ATF. They want the DHS. They want the NSA. They want the Pentagon. That's what, look at the federal government. How about this? The FDA, the USDA. They want the SEC not to stop the big corporations, but to keep an eye on you. Right? It's exactly what it is, folks. It's out of fucking control. And this is where they're taking us. As my little dear mom would say, to hell in a handbasket. Thank you, Mr. Uman, for that. He says, I would say it will require government subsidies and put the remaining stores in a large surrounding area out of business. You see, that makes perfect sense, right? You have 1 or 2 businesses go away, the people clamor and scream, we can't drive 3-4 miles to the next store. You have to put a government store here. And then, right, they use government subsidies to keep prices down at first. It is another predatory commercial practice, kind of like how Walmart would come into an area and then they would put down their exceptionally low price and drive businesses out so that they got all the business. It wouldn't surprise me if they started in order to make the public appreciate, approve, and endorse government stores. Unless there's no competition, they look around and they go, fuck it, let's rank the prices up on them. They ought to have Joe Biden up on the sign, like up on the sign, the big sign on the road. I did this. That's what they need to have. That'll be their model. Instead of Ronald McDonald as a clown, they'll have Joe Biden. They'll put all the businesses out of business. They'll allow stealing to continue in those businesses. If they would just do their fucking jobs and arrest criminals, if they would allow people to beat the shit out of thieves, we wouldn't have this problem. In Muslim countries, if you steal something, they put your hand on a board and they get a machete and they cut your fucking hand off. Your right hand. So now they have to do everything with their left hand, including wipe their butt. Apparently, they have a problem with using soap and water in that country, so that's an exceptionally terrible punishment. But it certainly stops thieving, doesn't it? All right, let us continue, we shall. I wanted to talk to you on this Free for All Friday about the concept of science. We've been told to trust the science, and scientists are experts. They have lots of letters after their name. They have bachelor's degrees and master's degrees and PhDs and MDs. They're scientists, by golly. And have you noticed, folks, it's kind of a science versus science issue I wanted to bring up. Have you noticed that science is now the unquestionable God? It is the only God that's allowed to be there, and you cannot question it. It is an infallible God, science. And when it speaks, we have to listen. We can't argue. There's no debate, and you have to obey. So I wanted to talk about a couple of items. With respect to debate and data, the argument over the Jim Jones juice and its performance, the data has spoken very, very loud. And the statistics coming from that data show that, sheep vitamins, the sheep out there who follow one another and do as they're told, the obedient sheep, the statistics show that sheep vitamins, those vitamins taken by the sheep are all around the world to help them be healthy and strong and not sick. Well, those vitamins do not work and even have the opposite effect. But science and its priests, the scientists, they all told us different. Well, now, folks, sheep are dying, and they're dying faster, and they're succumbing to standard illnesses. And they're also contracting diseases and cancer at higher rates, and they're suffering cardiac disorders at alarming rates. And it is especially noticeable because we report on athletes, super athletes, children, who are now keeling over in their sheep pens. Right, the problems is noted by everyday non-scientist people. And believe me, there are experts out there. I mean, they are dethroned and defrocked scientists and doctors because they didn't go along with the story. Right. But the problem is being noted not by them as much as it is by us, non-scientific people. Since nearly everyone knows a sheep, we've noticed it because we all seem to know sheep who have died. And everybody knows sheep who have had reactions to the sheep vitamins and were adversely affected by them and are sick all the time. We all seem to get that, right? We've noticed that the experts are wrong there. Well, that was, it only took us like a couple of months to figure that out. And then months and months later, the data keeps pouring in, supporting our notion that, taking sheep vitamins is bad. Now, conversely, climate science has taken decades, billions of government-funded dollars, mainstream media, and Hollywood propaganda to try and convince us that through their convoluted volumes of evidence and their personal opinions, of course, Carbon has been discovered to be the cause of the climate crisis. Right? Once they called it global cooling in the 70s, then they started calling it global warming in the 80s and in the 90s. Then it just became plain old climate change. But that wasn't scary enough. To get us to this point now, they want to call everything a climate crisis. Right? A winter storm or an Arctic storm became a clusterfuck bomb? A bomb cyclone. At first it was polar vortex. That wasn't scary enough. But bomb cyclone. I mean, they couldn't get any closer to saying nuclear winter without, saying it. But this is what they had to do. And it's taken them decades to build momentum. What took us just a couple of months to figure out as non-scientists. But, because of this fabricated climate crisis story bullshit, we now have to tax everyone higher, change our lives and our living standards, pay extremely high energy prices, et cetera, et cetera. And this only seems to benefit corporations who, in turn, fund government and even more scientific studies that are completely convoluted and basically a bunch of untranslatable horse shit. So I want to ask this question: science versus science. Those scientists versus, us as scientists, from looking at some data. How is it that brilliant scientists, supposedly brilliant, took decades to study, create, and come to their nebulous and decidedly inconclusive conclusions? And we still don't believe them because they're paid very well to lie. I'm sure if the government came to me and said, John, we're going to pay you $100 million. And for 10 years, we want you to study the climate and tell us about climate change. The expectation is that I will tell them what they want to hear. A lot of scientists took the money, didn't tell them what they hear, that the government wanted to hear, and they no longer have jobs. So scientists, folks, are brilliant because it's taken them decades to figure out that they're wrong, and they still can't figure out how to properly lie to us. But the people who witnessed the sheep vitamins, this sheep vitamins debacle, right? We're too ignorant to figure out that there's a real problem. We have, folks. We didn't take decades. We took just a few months to study the data and statistics and watch what was happening to friends and family and conclude that science is wrong. Science is wrong. Sheep vitamins are dangerous, and climate crisis is at best, it's dubious at best. So I want to ask you these questions. When you look out your window, when you're driving down the street, when you go to the store, when you interact with people, when you listen to the news, when you watch a movie, or when you're here on The Prepared Mind, who do you believe? Ask yourself that. Do I believe this fucking guy? Whether you're talking about me or Uman or someone else in the chat, who do you believe? When I go read news articles and then there's a comment section, I read the comments, and it's interesting that people fall on one side of the fence or the other. And you can see that it's partisan. Or is it partisan? Is one side agenda driven with a narrative and the other side resisting, saying, well, my science says something completely different than what you're selling us? So who do you believe? Who do you trust? Do you trust the science by the scientists? Or do you trust your own eyes, your own senses, your own instinct, and the information you've gathered? Believe in yourself is my point. Right? The science that you see and feel and notice is confirmed by using scientific method and seeing the results with your own eyes and not buying into someone else's agenda. Folks, the science of SHTF is in plain sight for us all to see. And I tell you what my agenda is. It's freedom and liberty, and to get rid of these scumbags. Right? Is that a scientific statement? They're scum? Well, I guess if I start defining those terms, yeah. Scumbag is the powerful people who lie to us, steal, cheat, and threaten. That describes Washington, D.C. and the government and the bureaucracy. So, yeah, By that definition, they are all incredibly scummy. All right, Jolene, let's do this. I know we're 35 minutes into the 1 hour show on this Friday Free for All. We got more questions, though. Let us just kind of blast on through. And we got Charles Gentry. He says, I guess it's true that lasting change only comes at the business end of a weapon. Oh, I'm going to stop right there, Charles, and debate you, which is fun because you often throw stuff out there that causes me to think. Because at cursory glance, I would agree with you. The lasting change only comes at the business end of a weapon. There's one caveat. While I agree with your statement there, that it's true, I will say that the problem is that the reason we have to go to the business end of the weapon is because one of the offending parties that have to use weapons is not using any intelligence. Consequently, conflict comes in. The unintelligent person will not listen to common sense, will not listen to a philosophical truth, a scientific fact, and they just want their agenda. And so then they want to fight. Typically, those people are tyrannical. There's nothing intelligent about King George telling the colonies, pay more taxes, pay 2, 3, 4, 5 times more taxes than your family in England. And we don't care. Fuck you. Is it intelligent to say, hey, we're here at your house. We're going to go through your house. We're going to take all of your shit that we want. We're going to claim you didn't pay taxes. Then we're going to burn your barn to the ground after we rape your wives and daughters. Is that intelligent, or is that just what it is? Pure tyranny. So lasting change comes at the business end of a weapon. Now, shortly after our American Revolution, Charles, we had the French Revolution over in France. And there was not lasting change there. They had the business end of weapon after weapon. They had Bastille Day. They cut the fucking head off of the king. King Louis, no more. Marie Antoinette, off with your head. They had a lot of violence, the business end of weapons, and there was no lasting change. So lasting change isn't guaranteed with the business end of a weapon, is my point. Your point still stands. It is true that lasting change comes at the end of a business weapon, but the business end doesn't guarantee it. Violence doesn't guarantee lasting change. Violence just guarantees a change. So again, very interesting to look at those from a historical and philosophical perspective. He says, that is how we won our freedom and rights. And that is absolutely correct. But we had intelligent men in charge of things at that time. The founding fathers, those great patriarchs of American freedom and liberty, they involved intelligence, not only in the fight, but prior to the fight, waking people up. And this is a point I think is fabulous. And thank you again, Charles. They didn't just decide all of a sudden on July 3rd, they're like, you know what, fuck the king. As I pointed out, Silence Dogood, or rather Benjamin Franklin, was for 50 years writing, spreading his freedom propaganda through the newsprint in the colonies. People had to be woken up. It took years and decades, and it took a lot of tyranny as well. And so they planted those seeds, those thoughts, those ideas as the philosophy of freedom and self-governance took root. Then they fought the good fight with the business end of weapons. And when they won it and had lasting change. Now you finish up and you say, what would be the best way to keep those rights? Well, through the exercise of our rights and our authority as the people. Right? And then also, that which is tyrannical, that which caused the problem, has to be restrained. King George got his ass kicked. It's too bad he didn't personally get his big, dumb German ass kicked, but he got his ass kicked out of America, his authority. So the people recognized tyranny for what it was, how bad it could be. The blockading of entire cities, the denial of commerce, the denial of currency, the denial of freedom, the denial of everything that they held dear. and that they were building was being taken from them. Are we or are we not in that same boat, that same situation, that same scenario? It is very similar. The best way to keep those rights is to recognize what caused the problem and deny it the authority or the power to do it again. That's what the Bill of Rights was about. That's what long memories and education were about, is teaching the people what caused the problem in the first fucking place. What do we have Democrats saying? Well, the problem is rich people. And then instead of going after the rich bastards that are the problem, what do? They come after the middle class and destroy it. They destroy mom and pop stores. They destroy their political enemies. There we go. The best way to keep those rights, to have rather powerful guards in place. Originally, the Constitution was a contractual government document which empowered the government to operate and act in very limited, restricted fashion, where it could constantly suffer checks and balances between the branches of government. Now we have a castrated Congress. We have a dunderhead in the president's office. And we have a bunch of pseudo sellouts in the Supreme Court. And I think I'm being generous with my descriptions there. Anyways, Charles, great topics, man. Thank you for bringing those up. Let us continue. Man said the libtards have effected lasting change without firing a shot. It has taken decades, but here we are. The business end of a weapon usually causes immediate and short-term change. Well, it's always immediate and it's always short-term. Getting that long-term freedom is what we're after. So what is it that the libtards have done? Well, they're using the Communist Manifesto. That's their end agenda. They're using rules for radicals. They're using communist propaganda. They're using psychology. They're using stealth techniques. They're not honest about it. They're dishonest. If they told you what the end game was, poverty, misery, destruction, filth, unsatisfying lives, people would be like, oh, I ain't signing up for that. But they say, hey, who wants their school debt forgiven? And they're like, me. Who wants to make sure there's lots of food? Oh, me, right? Who wants everyone to have good cars and no one gets to be rich? And like, me, I don't want those rich bastards to have nice cars. We should all have nice cars. Well, they end up all with shitty cars because government can't come through, especially communist governments. If there's no incentive to work, people won't do it. Right? You think these ass wipes coming across our border, you think they're here to work? Fucking hardly. They're here for free shit. Same with communists. They're here for free shit. They want everyone else's wealth transferred to them. Let me tell you, what a fucking world is this? What planet am I on? Man. Here we go. Name redacted says, John, the cult cabal, the deep state, is creating a climate for a French Revolution situation to happen. It will give them the final excuse to end run what is left. I think when he says a French Revolution situation, I'm going to interpret that as to mean, well, they have a government versus the people showdown. The government in place is cut off and sent packing. Then the people all fight amongst each other with special interest groups, all using violence and terrorism, like Jacobism and other political sub-parties. In France, they fought each other, they threatened each other, they killed each other, and they kept making crappy French government, which had to be, once again, cut off and thrown away, cut off and thrown away. They went through several different government attempts. And so Name Redacted is saying the powers that be will just sit back and let all this happen, and then they'll finally step in and offer a solution that people are willing to accept. The end run with what is left. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me cover some of that in this concept or thought that I have here. Thank you, Name Redacted. In Ukraine, they've decided that they're going to change gears. They're going to use the Storm Shadow Scalp missile system to hit the Black Sea Fleet headquarters in Crimea. Right? And guess what? The United States government was using its reconnaissance planes and its technology to help target this. Why is Ukraine supposed to be fighting? What is Russia doing in former Ukraine areas? Well, they're there liberating people who are being genocided by Ukraine Nazis. That's what's going on. One of the first things Putin said is he was going to denazify those areas. So Ukraine, folks, no longer has unquestioned support in Europe. Know that, understand it. Several nations in Europe are now withdrawing support to directly fund or supply weapons to Ukraine. Poland led that charge after leading the other charge to give them all the weapons they have. And many nations additionally in Europe are refusing to buy Ukraine's agricultural exports because they're undercutting everyone in Europe and fucking them over. In the United States government, political support has now collapsed. And under the House Republican control, which is as weak as it is under McCarthy, Volodymyr Zelensky was denied an audience with Congress. Even weak-ass McCarthy told Zelensky to pack his shit and get out. So Ukraine's much celebrated and hyped counteroffensive has failed, right? The Ukraine people are fleeing the forced service in the military. Troops are deserting their units, and Zelensky has now announced they will conscript, draft old men, disabled men, and also women to go physically fight Russia. Right? So instead of fighting Russia's army with a weak, untrained army, the Ukraine brain trust of a military has decided they're now going to attack Russia's navy and Russian ports. That has nothing to do with those other territories. They just want to fight a war. They just want to fight. They want to destroy everything so they can replace it with what they want. Has it occurred to everyone that a fight over breakaway republics in eastern Ukraine has now moved to attacking Russia's territory and military directly? And it has nothing to do, it's not associated with those territories anymore? Why, right? It seems that Biden, Washington, D.C., the powers that be, want World War III with Russia. And they're willing to do anything to get it short of outright nuking Russia. And I think even that is not off the board. So the question is why? To gain something? To keep the power that they have and not ever lose it? To keep us distracted? So what I'm going to say is I submit that they're hiding some dangerous things from us, folks, which is their agenda and their end goal. They're afraid of losing their power and being exposed, so they need to keep us distracted, keep us down, keep us hurt, keep us confused. And they're willing to take any risks to accomplish their agendas. So internationally, they'll start a war. Nationally, they'll destroy our economy. They'll flood us with illegals. They'll destroy children and education. So I want to look at you and ask you this question on this Free for All Friday. Are you prepared? This is the world we're in, folks. This isn't a television show. You're looking at me here. This is not a TV. This is not fiction. These are real things that are happening in the world. And it's here and it's happening. All right, Jolene. All right, oh man, who is up next? We got Nancy Kegg says, hey, do you think that maybe Barron Trump would ever be groomed to run for office? Maybe even for president someday? I think Barron Trump, what is he now? Is he getting closer to 18, 19, 20? I think he was 12, 10 or 12 when Trump ran for president. We're about 7 years past that. So he's in his late teens. I don't think he could be president for another 20 years, Nancy, but it certainly is possible. Right now, I don't think Barron Trump is going to be an issue. It's someone for the left to threaten and to try and hurt. But I don't think he's a threat politically. I think that Donald Jr. is a threat. I think that Eric Trump is a threat. You know, like him, love him, hate him, leave him. I don't care. They're a threat to the Democrats. Question is are they a threat to liberty? I don't know what those guys believe. I don't believe in dynasties. I don't believe in royalty. And I believe in freedom and liberty. And even that, folks, is very hard to keep. Our country, in less than 100 years from its founding, ended up in a civil war because banking and corporate interests wanted it, pushed for it until they got it. They didn't destroy the country, but they did change it. See 1871, the Act of 1871, if you want to see what I'm talking about. They fundamentally changed America at that point, and they're trying to fundamentally change it again. Right? Do you think, I saw this the other day. I was driving down the road and I saw a 1926 Ford. The license plate had 1926 on it, so I figured that was the year it was made. Well, that's a Ford. And then I saw a Ford pickup go by. They're both Fords, but boy, do they look different. They act different. They're totally different. I think they want to keep the name the same on the United States of America, just like those two Fords have the same name on them, but they're two entirely different vehicles. They do entirely different things. They have entirely different capacity, right? One barely got down the road and the other got down the road quite well with air conditioning and a computer-controlled engine, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is they want to keep America here, and they want to keep the same name right on the hood, but they want to change how it works and what it does completely. All right, let's do another one. What do we got up next? Who is up next is Orlando. And he says, when one villain is permanently disposed of to obtain freedom, there will always be another to take his place. How bad depends on how far we let him get. Now, this is an interesting idea. And again, we can look at our country. When England quit, the United States created the Articles of Confederation, under which a national government would represent the states. And they had several presidents under that. But it just wasn't working. It just wasn't quite right. It wasn't fully corrupt. It just wasn't functioning well. Well, you can't rebuild an entire nation or build an entire nation in less than a decade, but they just weren't satisfied. So then they came up with the U.S. Constitution. And there seemed to be a lot more confidence under that once it was started. And the initial president of that was George Washington, who had been offered kingship. And he said, no, America doesn't need a king, right? America needs freedom. The Americas need freedom. Can you imagine back then how many people wanted to step up and take advantage of the country? Stick their hands in everyone's pockets, take control. That's why the system they developed was so brilliant. It literally stopped that from happening to a large degree. It did. Now, if we were to say get rid of the deep state, if they were to actually drain the swamp, you're right. The villains wouldn't all die, just because you put some sun on them. They're not going to turn to stone like bridge trolls. They're still going to be there. They're still going to be alive. They're still going to be snakes. They're still going to be evil. They're still going to want to screw everyone over. They don't want to give that up. They'll just have to find new means and methods of control and exploitation. So it comes down to, well, how about this, Orlando? Let's just say we got rid of the deep state and they drained the swamp. And they kicked all those fruitcakes out of Washington, D.C. And they said, you don't get to have those jobs anymore. That'd be like cutting a cancer out of your leg and just spreading it all over your body. Now you got cancer everywhere. But if we were given the power and authority as people, or if we resumed that power and took it back unto ourselves and said, next person I catch being a snake, I'm going to put the question to them, right? And I'm going to give them the bill. That might just get them to thinking, right? But yeah, it's a criminal will always look to criminal methodologies to get what they want, right? Just because there is a harsh penalty doesn't mean that criminals are going to stop being criminals. And despots and tyrants won't give up. They have to be removed Now, let's see, an example of this. Napoleon Bonaparte. After the French Revolutions, they came up with a government, and Napoleon became emperor of France. And they had problems with that, so they ended up taking Emperor Napoleon, and they exiled him to the island of Elba. They did not kill him. They did not give him the death sentence, but they exiled him. They kicked him out of the country and said, you may not return to France. All of these villains that we know are there, they need to be taken out of the country, kicked out, and told, go live somewhere else. If New Zealand will have you, let them have you. We think you're scum. So anyone who is a Soros, Musk, Bezos, and I'm not saying they're all evil, but if we find out they're evil, you're gone. Right? Zuckerberg, put them on trial. Put them on trial. Produce the evidence. And then get rid of them. Exile them. So they're not in the country anymore. And then I think we will get a lot further with our freedom for a lot longer. And as long as the country, the nation, looks at these people that way, and we force the government to arrest them and kick them out of the country. Don't send them to jail. Exile them. Exile them. Say, pick a country you like. We're going to put you on a plane to that country. You want some fun? You like communism? We'll give you communism. You're going to China. And just start dumping these wasted piece of shit human debris all over the planet. They won't put up with it long at all, folks. We can have planes fly over Hong Kong Bay and just dump all of the Zark Muckerbergs. You can dump all of the awful bankers. Say, if you love them and they're so valuable, you keep them. Right. Have you ever thought about what it would be like if you were dumped in another country that doesn't speak English? What would you do? How would you get by? How would you handle it? Wouldn't be easy, would it? Right. You would have to start at the very bottom. You would have to meet people, greet people. You'd have to perform very well. You would have to convince them that you were trustworthy, that you should be rewarded for your efforts. What do you think would happen to Zark Muckerberg if you dropped his dumb ass off somewhere? People are like, we don't care who you think you are or were. You're nobody here. You think they're going to give him a $10 million grant to go start some software bullshit up? Hardly. He stole it from someone else. Same with Bill Gates. You go drop dumbass Bill Gates off in the Congo. You think they're going to go, oh, it's Bill Gates. Let's give him all of our money and let him lead the country. No. It is only because of their wealth here that they get to take advantage of us, screw us over, and then have the government not as a force to stop them from influencing and hurting everyone, but rather they use their wealth to make government hurt us. Bill Gates loves what's going on, folks. George Soros loves what's going on. Zark Muckerberg loves what's going on because they get control and power and wealth. Anyways, shit has hit the fan. It's not going to get better. They're going to keep doing what they're doing because they're allowed to do it and even rewarded for it. We got a little bit more time left. We got one or two more. Let's just zip them in here. Zippity doo doll. It's Rock Valley Red. He says, how about the guy that is out on parole for robbery? He robbed and got $65,000 worth of merchandise and was let out on no cash bail thanks to the safety bill. That's right. This no cash bail thing. And what does that mean? Well, it means that you get bailed out. No cash, no cost. The government doesn't want to take you, a criminal, and hold you in jail. In other words, there's no penalty. No penalty at all. Go ahead and commit crimes. Well, we're seeing it now. Robbery, grand theft, assault, attempted murder, rape, coming from these people getting out of jails. Who is doing that? Democrats. Why are they doing it? For the reasons described in this video. They want a free-for-all on the street, folks. They want to tear everything down so that they can take control at some point in the future when the people are beaten down, when they're tired, when they're hungry, when they're exhausted, when they're scared. And then the government can come back and go, look, we'll do this the right way, but this thing you call rights in the Constitution, you don't get that anymore. No. You'll have nothing and you'll like it. And that's the attitude they want. I'll see you all Sunday night on Sunday Night Live, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday Night Live. I'll send out notices. I'll send out clues. I'll send out information, but you guys know what time it is on Sunday. I hope to see you there. Share the information with others. Help them come. Support the effort. Share the information. And I hope to get a lot of good questions from you guys on Sunday. So keep your eyes open, your ears open, and keep your mind sharp. Chance favors. The prepared mind is yours. Semper Fi. Godspeed. We all need something good to look up to, folks. We do. Find that thing you need. Find that thing you need and believe in it and work for it. For me, it's freedom and liberty. God bless.